hikikomori. When you suck at everything in life, just retreat to your bedroom and never come out again. That's what hikikomori is. That means this term derives from Japan, if it's not obvious from the name. It describes individuals who withdraw from social life, work life, and often seek extreme isolation within their homes for a lot of time, usually for a few months and even up to years. This phenomenon usually affects adolescents and young adults who retreat from societal participation, including work and education. Now, we need to understand its prevalence. How much is this topic known? How much do people even do it in the first place? Well, it was initially observed in Japan. Hikikomori has been, in fact, reported globally, nearly in every country. This includes countries like the United Kingdom, the United States, Spain, Italy, and South Korea. In Japan alone, the government estimates that about 700,000 people live as hikikomori, the average age being 31 years old. Now let's talk about prevalence in our home country of Armenia. Now, hikikomori has a very low prevalence, and is in fact basically unknown in Armenia. Why? Well, people in countries like Japan have an extremist work culture and are extremely overworked because of that culture. Meanwhile, in Armenia, that culture is basically non-existent. There's also often factors such as generational differences. Because there's more elderly people in Armenia than youth, and because hikikomori is a very new concept, only being made around the 2000s and the 90s, most people in Armenia don't even know of its existence, and it's done under a different label if it is done. Now, there are several causes for this. The emergence of hikikomori is attributed to a complex interplay of psychological, social, and cultural factors, including psychological factors. Conditions such as social anxiety disorder, depression, and certain personality disorders may predispose individuals to withdraw from social interactions. What this basically means is that whenever you have something like social anxiety, it can get to such an extreme degree that you choose to lock yourself in your own house and never come out again. Then there's social factors. Now, bullying, academic pressure, failure to meet suicidal expectations can lead to feelings of inadequacy, prompting withdrawal. What this means essentially, if your social life sucks, then you never want to come out of your house again. Cultural factors. Now, this one's very interesting. As I mentioned before during the prevalence in Armenia thing, in cultures that emphasize collectivism and social conformity, individuals who struggle to fit in may choose to isolate themselves over perceived failure. What this means is that when you have very high standards, and let's say you live in a society like Japan where there's very high standards, especially for work, and you don't fulfill those standards, obviously to you that's normal. The idea of having a rest is incomprehensible to you. So you feel like a failure and you decide to lock yourself in your own home. Hence the quote that I said in the first slide. Now, there's several symptoms for hikikomori. How do we know that someone is hikikomori? Like, there's also just locking yourself in your own house versus hikikomori, which are kind of different, but basically the same thing. Now, hikikomori is characterized by confinement to one's own, avoiding social situations and interactions. What this means is that no matter what you do, you can't get them to leave the house or even their own room. Usually, they don't even cook for themselves. They usually just order stuff like pizza, burgers, whatever. You get it, takeout. Now, the reversal of the day-night cycle. This is something that's more or less specific to hikikomori. What this means is that someone will sleep throughout the day and be awake throughout the night. A lot of hikikomori have been doing this, or a lot of people who are living the hikikomori lifestyle have been doing this. And it leads to nocturnal lifestyles. What this means is, yet again, you sleep in the day and you work or do whatever at night. Now, there's also something that also makes hikikomori unique from any other situation where you completely isolate yourself at home. The dependence on digital media for entertainment and communication. What this means is that you depend entirely on things such as anime to live, basically. All you do all day is just watch shows. That's sort of something that characterizes and makes hikikomori unique. And the last thing, and the last symptom, is emotional numbness, depression, and in some cases suicidal ideation. What does this mean? That means that person being locked in their house all day eventually falls into a depression and wants to kill themselves. Next slide. Now, how do we treat this?